and happy pre-New Year's.
Yes. Welcome to If These Walls Could Talk.
There you go. And we're here to talk to you today. I'm Wendy Stuart.
And I am Tym Moss.
Oh my God. And we are in a party state of mind. Are we not, Tim?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We got New Year's coming up.
We got New Year's coming up, ladies and gentlemen, and we are on fire because we're back at PANGEA today with our show. Yes. Thank you for tuning in. And Tim and I were here last night for Kobe Cole's Nouveau Riche.
Pretty much all night.
I feel like I slept here. My God, it's like where I'm sitting right now, I could have curled up right here.
Yeah, right.
What an incredible show. I have to say, we do it once a month. Tim, do you have a calendar in front of you? When will it be? It's it's the last Tuesday of the month. So that'll be in January,
January 31st.
Oh my God. January 31st is the last Tuesday. Okay. So there you go. Please try. If you're in the New York City area, you have to come to this.
It's amazing.
We have people from Broadway, and then we have a ton of people that should be on Broadway, and some of them will. They absolutely will. We had such a good time last night. Tim brought me Christmas cookies. Yay!
I did. And they were gone before they even left
the cookies never made it out the door. And a shout out to Nick Lyon. You know, I have to tell you about Nick Lyon. He always comes bearing gifts.
Exactly. He got me a watch. He gave me a watch yesterday.
You got a watch. I got listen to us talk about
I'm going to wear it tonight.
Yes.
Watch.
Oh my God. Well, that's nicer than the watch I got. But I got a gorgeous bracelet.
I'm wearing that tonight.
Beautiful necklace. And and then he brought gifts for everybody else. Nick Lyon is just like the Santa Claus of the club scene.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, he's like the bling Santa Claus.
Bling Santa Claus, right?
Yeah.
Ho 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 ho. So Tim, this week we were just trying to unwind. We just take a breath.
Yeah.
The week between Christmas and New Year's. And I've got 3 parties coming up this weekend. And then rolling into rolling into 2023, girl.
Right. This weekend.
God. They should have something more symbolic than a ball dropping. Like, you know how we set clocks like forward or backwards?
Yeah.
They need to come up with like just something else that, I don't know, everybody wears like reindeer antlers like on January 1st. It's mandatory reindeer antlers for everybody.
Or you get arrested and locked up.
Right. Or you can get arrested and locked up.
Last week, did I tell you about the Strange Loop? When I went to see the Broadway show Strange Loop. And
I thought you said, did I tell you about the lube? I'm like, Tim is talking about his sex life. I thought you were going to talk about Uber Lube.
No, but the Strange Loop. I went to see that on Broadway last week. And because a friend of mine, L. Morgan Lee, is in it. And I've been wanting to see it before it closes. This has never happened. 7:00 curtain. At about 7:05, they said the show will begin in about 15 to 20 minutes. And I was like, okay, that was odd. About 15 to 20 minutes later, they come back on and say, could I have your attention, please? Tonight's show has been canceled. And everybody has to get up and leave, and nobody knew what was going on. Well, come to find out, Morgan had told me that one of the people backstage tested positive, somebody in the cast. And I guess that exposed the entire cast, so they had to close it. And then my friend Susan, because then I went to see Aiden's show at Don't Tell Mama.
Yes, Aiden was at Don't Tell Mama.
Yes, and Susan and he were going to see Strange Loop Wednesday night, and she said that it was entirely the understudies. It was all the understudies.
Okay, but all right. So I'm going to open up this can of worms because you
open it.
We were talking about this with our guest, who's amazing, by the way. But a very dear friend of ours and a wonderful director who's been on this show. 2 people tested positive in their show, and it was off Broadway. Okay, 2 people tested positive in a show that the cast rehearsed 2.5 months for. Nice. And the rules that they have in equity, now this show is not going to go up until September.
I think
personally, I really think, and you all know I stay safe. I mask when I need to. I'm vaccinated. But you know what, folks? We really have got to find a better way to have, I think, a different criteria.
Yeah.
Does this make any sense? I mean, Tim, if you had been out in a bar or a club and there was someone there that tested positive and went out anyway, you wouldn't know about it. I think a lot of this is my personal opinion, and y'all can say what you want, but I think a lot of it's got to do with legal. And everyone is covering their butt. That's my opinion.
Yep, absolutely.
Anyway, okay, Missy's going to get off her soapbox now.
Well, how was your weekend, your Christmas Eve? And didn't you go to Imperial Court?
No, that was 3 weeks ago, but it's okay, honey. I lose days too.
I'm relative with me.
I got to meet, my daughter's been going out with somebody fabulous. Met during the pandemic, and I heard about how wonderful his family was. So I invited myself and my husband to their Christmas dinner. What the heck? You know, everyone knows I have no boundaries. I did it nicely. I asked my daughter to ask them because, quite frankly, Alan and I didn't have a concrete plan for Christmas. As many of you know, before this all happened, the pandemic, we'd be in Africa or Asia. We'd be making small films there. So here I am in New York, not going anywhere. I invited myself to their Christmas dinner. Fantastic people. So great to meet everybody. 2 fabulous dogs. You know, if there's dogs, you know.
Yeah, you're there.
Well, yeah, and it was just really cool. You know, it's like
that sounds nice. Yeah,
and definitely out of the box for me. And then, you know, I've just been trying to chill. I need to get my energy. I have a lot of things going on in January.
I'm telling you, I had my last show of the year the other day.
Yes.
And
you did, right?
I did not realize how exhausted I was, because I was just going like this just to try to get to that final show, you know, and take a break. On Christmas morning, my Christmas present to myself was I slept in.
Good for you.
I did not do anything. I just ate and slept, and I needed that so bad. That was the perfect Christmas for me.
It is. You have to recharge your batteries. But as we roll into the new year, I'm announcing this January 15th. It's a Sunday night at 8 o'clock. I am having my mega birthday party right here at PANGEA. I have a bunch of friends performing. It's going to be a big blowout. And if you're watching, yes, you're invited. Just text me. Let me know that you're coming, okay? And you can bring friends. And it's all about having a really great time. Absolutely. And I'm all about celebrating. Celebration, yes. Speaking of celebration, I want to just celebrate our guest today.
Well, firstly, I just want to say thank you for tuning into If These Walls Could Talk with your hosts, Wendy Stuart and Tym Moss. And we will be right back with our guest.
So, take it away. Jackson Sturkey likes to call himself the last of the good time Charlies. Yes. I would have to agree. He's funny as anything. He can write anything. He's an incredible performer with such a unique style. He's definitely a renaissance man. I tell Jackson this all the time. You are a very old soul in a very young body. He's just one of those people, a mega talent. We are blessed. He has not even been in New York that long. I think it's something like 7 years, and you can catch him everywhere. He performs all over. He hosts an open mic night, I believe, at the Soho Playhouse. And I just love him to death. He's a super fantabulous person. Let's give a round of applause to Jackson Sturkey. Yay! Let me shove over there. There you go.
Hear that applause. Hear that applause.
I told Wendy to sell it. Really sell it.
Right. There you go. And he's going to get me
now that she's told everything about you, show's over. Bye.
Yeah, show's over. Nothing left.
Nothing left.
Jackson, can you tell us about our craft services that we've served?
Lucky. I gotta tell you what, this is A1. They're taking real good care of me. So we've got a nice bar of chocolate. I'm allowed to have one piece of it because I have to share it with everyone else who's here, because this is the whole craft service table. You'll notice that much like this show, this chocolate bar is filled with fruits and nuts.
There you go.
I'm ready for it.
And, no, honey, you don't even have to share it. We're living large.
Actually, a club with fruits and nuts is fine with me.
Yeah, right. Tim will be there. So it's very cool that Jackson is on today because literally Tim and I were here last night, as we told you, at Kobe's show. Jackson, of course,
we were all here.
One of the performers, and your backup ginger, Will. What's his name? Will
Studebaker. Studebaker, like the car.
I love it. And what did you tell me? Sturkey, like the turkey.
Sturkey. Well, I said it's so. My last name is Sturkey. It's spelled like turkey if you had an S to the beginning. And I like to say that because I ain't chicken, you know?
Yeah. You know what? And Tim knows this, I botch people's names. I forget people's names. I draw blanks about people's names. Jackson, I always remember because his first name, Jackson, that's a very strong name. And then the last name, I remember what he told me, put an S in front of turkey.
I was in there.
And you were in. So last night, Jackson, did a wonderful two numbers.
Two original numbers.
They were original numbers. As a lyricist, you're quite incredible lyricist. You really are.
I love it. It's one of those things too. I love words.
Words.
I love words. Like I used to go to the library when I was a kid. And that's the first place that I remember going that wasn't my house, is going to the library. And I would get a stack of books and I would get a stack of VHSs and I would carry them home in my little arms. But something I used to do with school books, not library books, is every time I had a word I didn't know what it was, I would underline it.
Because it was that important to you.
And then I would go back, look up all the words, and then reread that section of the book.
Oh, wow.
And I was like really worried about being like understood in what I was saying. But the issue with that, having, sort of an expansive vocabulary like that, now that I'm older and I have the words for everything and they're minutia in their most itty bitty parts, nobody understands what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, we do. So Jackson he's got, first of all, a cadence. It's somewhat Shakespearean. That's what I call you. I'm sure other people have told you that. It's your delivery.
Well, because it's a little bit like Katharine Hepburn, a little Eartha Kitt, but I tell jokes like Mae West.
Yes.
Well, what a totally fabulous combination. I have to say, last night, this hardly ever happens, but we had somebody that had too much to drink. And he was a problem. I think he was bothering one of the women in the audience who had been a performer. Yeah. And Jackson's on stage, like, doing an incredible job, and really kept his cool because this guy was completely obnoxious.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I was doing one of my original songs. Yeah. It was called "Hello, I Love You, Goodbye." And at first I just stopped the song, Tim. And I said, "Excuse me, sir. Could you please shut your hole? I'm trying to use mine to make money."
He did. Tim, I think you had left at that point. I was like,
I wasn't. Yeah, I missed your second number. Yeah.
Jackson just told him. But yeah, it was very well handled. People don't realize the whole heckling thing. It's awful.
It's awful.
Mm-hmm.
I do stand up again now because in this age range, I'm able to handle a lot better and I'm tougher. But when I had done stand-up 20 years ago, one of the reasons I stopped was at 2:00 in the morning, hearing, "Hey, baby, I want to talk about your tits." I just wanted to strangle a person, and I didn't know what to do. And I would think, I don't need this anymore. This is horrible.
Well, and it's interesting. There's such a spectrum of the way that people heckle. Because I've been hosting an open mic for a few years now. I've done it at the Nest in Brooklyn. Now we're over at Soho Playhouse. And there's people who heckle who think they're helping, and you're not.
Right.
If you ever think you have something to add to the show, you don't.
Yeah.
But then there's
you don't. So forget about it.
Also, though, then people like last night, where it's someone who is like drunk and belligerent, and they're just
belligerent.
They're just not even engaged with the show in any way. And I remember I was doing my open mic, and if you come to the open mic over at Soho Playhouse, Cuckoo's open mic,
and that's Wednesday night.
Every Wednesday, we're going to be starting at 9:30 in January over at Soho Playhouse downstairs in the Huron
There you
Club.
go.
And there was someone. You get 7 minutes to do whatever you want.
That's a long time.
It is, especially for New York.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't involve fire or glitter, do whatever you want. Make a mess on our stage.
Oh, my fire dances down.
With you. No, sorry about it. You're gonna have to find a way to do your fire breathing act without the fire. I think you can do it, Tim. But there was one guy who it hits the 7 minutes and he gets very upset. And I realized in the moment, I was like, oh, this has nothing to do with 7 minutes.
Right.
It was my friend Maria Connor once said.
At the piano last night. Who was at the show? She's amazing.
And wrote a book.
New girl in town. Yeah.
And so it's one of those things, though, that Maria Connor, sometimes when someone is belligerent, she will kind of disengage. She will say to them, "Are you okay? What is the issue?
What's going on?
how can I engage? How can we, diffuse? It's that sort of thing where it's like, when it hit that 7 minutes, like, this has nothing to do with what's going on now. And it's so funny. Sometimes when you come into conflict with someone, it has nothing to do with what's happening now in the moment. It's sort of like you're navigating their past traumas and their things.
And they're right.
And it's like this has
and
nothing.
The alcohol has a tendency to bring that stuff.
Oh, without a doubt. So how did you handle
firstly,
yeah.
Go ahead.
How did you handle the performer that was, at the 7-minute mark, not okay?
Well, we got him off the stage and out of the venue.
That's what out of the venue.
Yeah, because that's the thing too. On his way up, he kicked the door and tried to fight the bartender. And it's one of those things that it was just, we were all very clear. And the thing is, everyone else who is in that room who is here to perform had 7 minutes or will have 7 minutes. And so when he got into this conflict, he wasn't in conflict with me running the show.
Right.
He was in conflict with everyone else in the room who had taken the time to respect the rules.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was a room suddenly where everyone who was in the room
was bad to him,
wanted him to leave the room.
Right.
And so it was that sort of circumstance where I think he picked up on that quickly and was like, okay, I don't have a friend or I don't have an ally.
I know, but here we go again, right?
Okay. Firstly, keep that thought. But thank you for tuning in to If These Walls Could Talk with your hosts Wendy Stuart and Tym Moss and our wonderful guest, the fabulous Jackson Sturkey. Okay,
here's the thing. This person was allotted 7 minutes like all the performers were on stage. It wasn't the 7 minutes. There was obviously something mentally unbalanced. He wasn't drunk or stoned, was he?
No, he wasn't.
So drunk or stoned, we know how to deal with that.
Yeah.
Mental imbalance is a whole other thing. And that's tough to put you in that position and all the other performers, because you don't know if that person, how badly they're going to explode.
Exactly.
And then what the hell do you do? It's scary.
And one thing that I've noticed too is that some people don't really have the concept of time.
Yes.
Like we've had people that, like, when we'll book a show or produce a show or something, and we say you've got 10 minutes. Oh. Well, at 10 minutes, they're just getting started and moving on into, and if you'd let them go, they would do 20.
They would.
Yes.
They don't realize how much time they're taking up. So it's probably a combination of that, and plus, just not some past traumas and stuff that's coming up. And
it's one of those things to know, because it's like, when you get booked, it's like, okay, how much time do I have? 10 minutes. I could probably fit 3 songs in 10 minutes and 2 jokes.
Right.
Because you look at how you work.
Well, and it's
you're focused on keeping
that out.
Right. And you're focused on keeping it within that frame.
And so then you have someone who wants to do 2 7-minute songs.
Right.
Well, exactly. You've got 7 minutes. You're going to get through one of those songs. So choose which one you like more tonight. Future diamonds. And I think that, is sort of like on the professionalism of the performer.
Absolutely.
And understand that. I think I also, as a survival gig, I work down at the Freedom Tower. I put tourists on an elevator.
Okay, I'm just finding this out. I did not know this. Wait.
Well, here's what will happen sometimes is you'll have a customer come in and they will just be belligerent. They're having a bad day.
Yep.
I forgot. And if a customer ever gets too belligerent with me, I will look them in the eye and I will say, I am here to help you.
Right.
Excuse me, I am here to help you.
And it's that sort of thing. When I deal with
disarm them. You're very good at disarming.
And so when dealing with someone who is having like that sort of like mental thing, I am lucky. I have Alexis Shetley who helps me run the show. And if I ever need to step out of the room and take care of something, Alexis can host and run the show. And so when I have someone who's on stage like this, who is having this thing, it's like, listen, I'm here to help you. I want to de-escalate. I'm here to run this show, and I'm here to, facilitate it for them. I'm here to run the show and facilitate it for you.
Right.
And it's that sort of thing where I am very much about that sort of conflict resolution and that de-escalation. Now, here's the issue. This person, is banned from the venue now. They'll never be able to come back to the show because, again, they kicked the door and tried to fight the bartender.
It's not worth dealing with.
Exactly.
Nobody has that kind of time.
But if I get them out of the room and the show is able to run, that's what I'm there to do. I'm here to run the show for them, run the show for everyone who's come, everyone who comes. We get about maybe 35 to 45 people every week. And it's, I want to be sure that this runs as smoothly as
that's a lot of people.
We've been very lucky.
How you have been in New York, 7 years?
7 years, 8 come February.
Well, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to back up and see where you're from originally.
Sure.
Where are you from originally?
I'm from Ohio originally, Akron, Ohio.
Akron.
Akron. Okay.
Cleveland and Columbus.
I performed in Akron.
You know what? I always say Ohio is such a lovely place to leave. I know. I just
So it's Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Columbus. How close are you to Cincinnati?
I would be
Cincinnati's a long
like
way.
an hour drive.
Oh,
Like,
it's an hour from.
Yeah, because
from
I'm like
Akron.
45 minutes from Cleveland.
So you're right in the middle of the whole
which is in the opposite corner of the state. Yeah, that's a big state, though.
Yeah, well, and I got to say too that I really never understood Ohio, but no one had to explain New York to me.
Oh,
I was gonna say, yeah, I don't. Yeah, I could see that. That
you're obviously here. The people that come here and thrive, and you are one of the people that are you thriving here. They have to be a good match for New York. What was the match like, though, for you growing up in Ohio? Who was Jackson growing up in Ohio?
Well, so I grew up in like a very religious segment of Ohio. You know, like my God, my guns, my Trump sort of people.
Yes, right.
And you know, a Bush back in the day and Reagan before that.
Yep.
And I am not religious. I like to say that I used to be fagnostic, but now I'm a atheist.
Oh, I like that.
And someone
Jackson's funny.
Someone asked me the other day, what does it mean to be a gaytheist? And I said, I worship dick. Like,
he is a gaytheist also.
It's true.
Yes. That's great.
We're card-carrying gaytheists.
It's something you can wear around your neck, though.
Or a tattoo, maybe.
Yeah, or a tattoo, maybe. I'll let y'all design that.
Well, firstly, thank you for tuning into If These Walls Could Talk with your host, Wendy Stuart Tym Moss, and our wonderful and hysterical guest, Jackson Sturkey. Okay, now back to gaytheism.
Well, and then also I am biracial. I'm mixed. My father is black and my mother is white. Although my father is a black Republican.
Okay.
Wow.
Someone is like, someone is
that also in Ohio, I'm sure caused there was some maybe conflict or something around that.
Well, I would say
your parents.
Well, I would say too, like a story that I think of when it comes to that is we went to visit some of my father's family down in Mississippi when I was a little tiny tyke, and we only went once. It was for a funeral. We went down. And then many years later, I asked my mother, why didn't we ever go back and like visit again?
Right.
And what my mother said to me is, we didn't want to take you kids anywhere. We didn't think we could keep you safe.
Wow.
Yeah, well.
It's like to this day. So I pass as white. My siblings pass as white. And my father's grandchildren all pass as white. And when we were even down there in Mississippi, my family down there, they called me and my brother Red. Because we weren't high yellow, we were so light skinned we were red.
Wow!
And so that's something I didn't even realize until years later.
And did you feel? How old were you when you went?
I must have been 5. I was 5 or 4 years old.
Do you remember like not feeling okay?
I did, and I think that's something that that's something that my parents did. But then realizing, so for my father, for his grandchildren, he will not go to the grocery store alone with one of his grandchildren. Because from the outside, that might look like a white fussy baby with a black man.
Right.
And so he wouldn't do it with us when we were kids. I now realize
that's
something to this day he wouldn't do.
And I just realized I had interviewed Jackson on another show and I played the tape back. I don't know how I didn't remember that. And I wanted Jackson to talk about that on here today because we do talk about everything. And Tim, like it's something you and I wouldn't think about, right?
Right.
Like grandfather.
No, I grew up in Indiana. So it's a similar mentality there.
Right.
And like interracial, LGBT, anything outside of this box is what is that?
Like Jackson's father actually having to worry about bringing Jackson or the grandchild that someone may think that the kid was kid. I mean, we need to start really like unearthing this stuff in our culture and having conversations about it, you know?
Well, and to be able to have those open conversations, because something that then became an experience of mine is I would have a lot of people who would say, well, you're a person, but you're not one of our people.
Right, not
because
one of us.
Like, you're not white enough. You're not black enough. You're not straight enough. You're not Republican enough. You're not.
How about just American?
Well, even
hello, right?
Because even in that, but the issue with that is, I'm just trying to write the kind of music that will turn your children into communists and fags. And so I don't know how well that plays in Middle America.
And convert them to gaytheism.
Exactly.
Right.
And so,
Or fagnostics.
But what this did for me then is there was always that sort of like, for many years in my adolescence, then there was that real sort of disconnection in that way. Mm-hmm. And so then what I started to do, I was never really worried about getting a seat at the table. Mm-hmm. I was always worried about, because so many of these systems have been historically withheld from people like me, people mm-hmm. who are gay, who are queer, people who are black, people.
That's what I mean. Anybody outside that white box, yeah.
I think there's some states where it's illegal to run for public office if you're an atheist still, and it's like these sorts of things that and so rather than trying to get into that system and change that system that has historically been withheld, I was more interested in trying to make new systems that were based around the values that I have, writing new shows.
Oh, this is so
that
brilliant.
Are based around the values I have.
Yes.
Because that's the thing. I write musicals, I contrive theater, and I'm a cabaret performer, and that is what I do. And so I want to write shows that are based around the value. Example of this is my friend Maria Connor was out in San Francisco for the last 27 years.
Right.
And she has just moved to New York City and released her book, Girl Shock. I dressed as a girl for Halloween, but then she took over my life. Her journey from straight and boring to trans.
She
and
was
fabulous.
Married, and she did a song last night about so much rage.
So
good. Her ex, I'm like, wow, this was one hell of a transition.
Well, and so we're adapting because for me,
she's so talented.
She is so talented. Well, and then for me, part of it too is I have this feeling reading her book that was like, sex, drugs, and rock and roll saved my soul. Mm-hmm. And if that's not a musical, I don't know.
It is.
Right.
And so it's for one, just for starters, we're looking to get together a really good concept album that's just a really good rock album of all the music to start there with the production, and then to figure out. But if you get a chance, read her book. It is part memoir, part BDSM manual, part director's cut.
Oh my God!
Part director's cut of her show that she did. She hosted a show with an interview series under the Golden Gate Bridge at the Armory, the headquarters of kink.com, for many years.
Oh, wow.
And so introduced rock stars, porn stars, politicians. It is, look up Under the Golden Gate Bridge, look up Maria Connor.
I love that.
Wow. And here she is with the rest of us in New York City. No surprise there. Everyone finds their way back.
Absolutely. And they find their way to us.
Yes, they do.
But thank you, everyone, for tuning in to If These Walls Could Talk with your hosts, Wendy Stuart and Tym Moss, our fabulous guest, the wonderful Jackson Sturkey. Yay!
So
now you're gonna be working on that musical on converting.
I've already written 5 songs. Yeah, I've already written 5 songs for it so far. And then Maria is a rock star.
Right.
You gotta hear Maria on her electric guitar. She came to my open mic when she came to visit the city.
Also.
Well, she came to my open mic. I met her at Club Cumming. It was right around the time Stephen Sondheim died. She was here for 2 weeks. I bought her book from her there. And she came to my open mic that I host, Cuckoo's Open Mic, and she got on guitar and she played Lick My Love Pump. And we were all just losing our minds. And so something that I've been doing in the process is I've been going through years and years and years of songs that she has written about her life and been performing. Perfect. And so there's a mixture of stuff that she has already written, like the song she did last week, Osmotically, or then there's some stuff that's brand new that I've written, like Song of the Seeker, and find those ways. The book is Maria's story in her own words.
Right.
And so that's what I want to make the musical be. I want the musical to be her story in her own words. And it's, when I was reading the book, there's wonderful lines like, I was wondering, were they fucking me or were they just fucking some sexy doll? Or there's also lines like, when the storytelling, the music, and the performance are all in line, therein lies divinity.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And to find moments like that, it's really a great book. If my copy of it, it looks like some little old woman's Bibles. The way they.
No, you have it.
Dog
it's
ear
worn.
Written up.
It's
I can
worn,
reference the pages. Let me read a passage for you.
Circled in it, and
Page 175 in the chapter to worship the dead.
Johnny, can you read the second paragraph down from the top?
Amen. But you know what? It's so funny too, bringing this up. I had just done a sold out run of shows here at PANGEA.
You did,
in the
right?
back room, an hour of my original music. And a friend of mine, Charles Michael, who is just one of my dearest and longtime friends in the city, he wrote a review of the show, and he had a great line in it, which is, I think, had to be the pull quote I'll use, is he said, this wasn't another cabaret show. This was church. And I really feel that being in this room, like even last night doing Nouveau Riche, there's this commune that takes place.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that so often when we go and see shows now, a lot of modern shows, it's almost like you're watching someone do a tightrope walk because of the spectacle, because of everything.
They're out there, you're over here, and never the twain shall meet. When you're in this room at PANGEA, it is like it's a completely organic, flowing thing.
You're breathing the same air. And you know, if you're lucky, there are some performers who, when you go and see a Broadway, there's some performers who are really in that room with you. Like someone who I just think is just the best and everything. I do love Patti LuPone. I got to see her.
I love Patti LuPone.
I went and saw Hello Dolly 3 times. I saw it with Donna Murphy. I saw it with Bernadette Peters. I saw it with Bette Midler. And it's one of those things that sometimes you have a performer who is really in that room giving you that. But I think being down here in the East Village, being here in Brooklyn, being here at PANGEA, that exchange of so much of this is coming directly out of that performer's mind. And being able to do that and have that sort of commune is something that I value greatly. And especially too, you know, I'm funny.
Jackson's funny.
But also I think what I can do really consistently is I provide a space of emotional catharsis for my audience.
I like that. So I'm going to reference a song you did last night.
Yes.
And just want to go into it a little bit. You wrote a song about you had a roommate that you had feelings for. Can you sing or give us a line about the wall coming down? I thought that was sure. Just sing it. You can sing it.
So the song starts up by saying, there's a wall in between us. Isn't that a bummer? Maybe we'll tear down that wall by the end of the summer.
I just love that.
And I think one of my favorite lines, though, is a little bit later. I say, the past is a burden that comes with time. I can't take on your past. I can barely hold mine. I've given you love if you wanted a lover. Maybe we'll tear down that wall by the end of the summer.
I just loved it. It was a poem, right? Put to music, and I was singing along with you.
If you want, go to my Instagram. Out late tonight, I post old Hollywood and I post about the shows. But top center on my Instagram, I've got it pinned, is me doing that song with the band.
Oh, cool!
I think that's the best song I wrote last year. I love it so much. It's called the song is called "End of the Summer," and my band is called The Big Turn On.
So Tim, don't you think this is the perfect time to show Jackson's video that we have today?
Absolutely.
Okay. We're going to take
a look at Jackson Sturkey.
Jackson Sturkey live. And this is called Ghost.
A Ghost Light for You.
A Ghost
That
Light
was
for
written
You.
about PANGEA when they were closed down in 2020.
Love it. Yeah, this is so beautiful.
It's not the same without the lights, without the people in the room. Please wait 5 minutes longer. The house will open soon. I've heard the show must go on. Gee, I hope that is true. I'll be waiting in the wings. I'll keep a ghost light burning for you. It's not the same without the stars lighting up the room. If I little longer, the house will open soon. I've heard the show must go on. Gee, I hope that is true. I'll be waiting in the wings. I'll keep a ghost light burning for you. I've heard the show must go on. Gee, I hope that is true. I'll be waiting in the wings. I'll keep a ghost light burning for you.
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
Special thanks to PANGEA. Wow. Beautiful.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to If These Walls Could Talk with your hosts, Wendy Stuart and Tym Moss, our amazing and wonderfully talented guest, Jackson Sturkey. Thank you. One thing I notice is a lot of singers, they're given the music and they're given the words, and a lot of times a singer just kind of recites the words without really feeling it. That's one thing I've noticed about you is you feel what you're portraying when you perform. Where did that come from? Like, how did you develop that, or how did you learn how to interpret what you want to say into an art form?
Well, I know that right now I'm doing a lot of my original songs. And so a lot of these songs,
meaning to you.
Exactly. A lot of these songs,
Emotional
the material is there. And then something that I started to find just with writing songs in particular is every now and then I would start to write something and I would think, is this too idiosyncratic? Is this too much just a me thing?
In your head, too much in your head you would get.
And so then I found, though, when I shared those things that I thought maybe this is too schmaltzy, maybe this is too idiosyncratic, maybe this is too literal. It was that some of those things were things I found that were the moments that people connected with most.
Because that's who you are. All three of those adjectives are you. And that's who you are. And that's what's coming out. That's what Tim's talking about.
And also just layering.
Yes.
Because like Ghostlight.
Yes.
You're talking about, like you'll leave the ghost light on for you. But yet it's also a ghost light is a darkened theater. And it also represented PANGEA during the pandemic, not having anybody on stage. There was so many layers to it.
Well, and so I would say too, I think when someone picks up a song, and because the thing is, I do this open mic every Wednesday, and the show usually runs from like 7:30 p.m. till midnight, maybe 1 a.m. sometimes. So that's like a 4 or 5 hour show with 7-minute performances. So I've seen a lot of people do a lot of performing.
Right.
And I part of it is, and then I perform every single week that I've been here in New York. If it hadn't been for the pandemic, I could say that I performed at least 4 times on stage every single week for the last 7 years that I've been here. And I think that part of it is just putting in that time of doing it. But I always think of my favorite interpreters of song are Elaine Stritch.
Oh, yes.
Carol Channing, Sophie Tucker, Jimmy Durante.
Yeah.
Jimmy Durante in particular.
Jimmy Durante, wow.
Just a brilliant interpreter of song. Good night, Mrs. Calabasas.
Right.
We are. And I look a lot at his version of Make Someone Happy.
Yeah.
it's one of those.
Someone happy.
It's almost sadness, almost a
Yeah.
there.
And when he says that, it's that sort of thing where it's when you have a lyric, you want the audience to think you're making it up for the first time, that is a thought coming right out of your head. And I think part of that for me is to, one, find lyrics that I trust. Like, it's, if you have just something that the song is really good. But then also, if you ever come across a lyric that is a little, less good, I always think it's just people. And so what did it mean to them, the person who was writing this or the character who sang it? Right. What does it mean to them? And being really specific about that and knowing that and taking the time to soak that in. Something that I find when I'm writing is sometimes I write a lyric and I think, that's the best lyric I ever wrote. Now I have to stop writing. And
writing block sets in.
Well, and it happened to me. Like, I wrote a Star Wars love song that I was and there was the opening line of the chorus is, I hope you realize stars are for looking at, not for fighting wars. And I, for a while, I was like, damn, that's the best lyric I've ever written. Right. Now, a song that I do called Jesus Shaves. And, oh
my God.
Well, and the thing is, too, Jesus Shaves, as I was writing it, this was one of the songs that took me a little while. The song that we just listened to, A Ghost Life For You, I wrote that song in about 15 minutes. I just felt it. It poured out of me. Right. I wrote it.
Because you were in an emotional place. You were in an empathetic place. And that's why you hit it in 15 minutes.
And I was done. And then I met up with Adam, the violin player, and we, figured out what his part was. And so, but I had a song that I do, Jesus Shaves. And this is a song that took me about, it either come out of me really quick or it'll take me about 8 months to get through it. Sometimes I'll be writing a song and I'll be like, I haven't lived enough life yet. I don't know what I'm saying about that. So I have to go and, figure out the rest of it. And so with Jesus Shaves, it is a song where I had made a list of things that exes had said to me.
Oh, wow.
That's what the lyrics of the song was. It goes sort of down and down and down. The opening line of it, and this is where it starts. The opening line of it says, I'll tell you a lie. Our love will survive. And we'll be a family.
Oh, wow.
And so that's where it starts. Right. And then I go down and down and down.
Wow.
And get all the way down there to the bottom of it. And this is, I think, my best lyric that I've written right now. I get all the way down there to the bottom. And then I say, but if love is a myth and death is inevitable, I still think a sunset is fucking incredible.
I love that. Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's
Jackson, this ability to write these lyrics. I know you sang choir growing up, but was anyone saying you were like a musical genius, or this is something that evolved in you?
They're mostly saying,
did you have any?
Get out of here, you? No.
You're like this weird little kid. We've had people on this show that were, my God, Joey Arias was Joey Arias at 3, 4, and 5 years old. I don't think he's changed at all. Yeah. He came into the world as that person. Were you this kid that could do this, or it evolved because of the things that happened to you?
I think that it evolved. I think when I was younger, I think I was doing my best to like fit in some ways. It's one of those things that there were some things that, like, I guess were intrinsic in me that within sort of the religious environment, within that sort of like Americana, within that conservative environment, just were never going to gel. They were never going to fit. But I found I loved choir, and my school offered 6 choirs.
Nice.
I was in 5 of them.
There you go.
And so they wouldn't let me in women's chorale. And so I always had that affinity to music. I know. I had an affinity to music. I had an affinity to film. I love reading, and I was always interested in any way that people were like sharing stories within their mind.
I was just gonna say that storytelling or the relaying of life and feelings in life. Yeah.
And I think the lesson here is, you had this little kid out of the box living in a conservative place. You didn't really fit, but you made yourself fit. You threw yourself into choir. You hung on to the stories.
And then when it came to a head, that it was there was a lot of times, I did a storytelling festival the Gotham Storytelling Festivals with Frigid New York, which is my first creative home in the city. Frigid.NYC, if you want to look them up, indie theater company. They're always producing wonderful
tons of
shows.
Stuff. Yeah,
they do like a lot of hour-long shows, and they do a lot of theater festivals. They'll actually be getting into the Frigid Festival here in the end of January, beginning of February, which is a Fringe Festival here in New York. And I was doing a storytelling show because the thing is, too, I spent a lot of years not talking about my life growing up. And
then we haul you on the show. And
no.
Out of
So then I had the opportunity. Then I had the opportunity to do this storytelling show, and I said, okay. And what I usually do is singing songs. I hosted my first cabaret show with Jackson Sturkey and his orchestra. I always said it was a little bit like if Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood was hosted by your drunk gay uncle. And I love it. And I was doing that show for a while. And it was that sort of thing where it was like very up, like let's have a good.
How did the ability to storytell hook into your past?
Well, I think that storytelling is what I always have thought is the center of what I'm doing. I always thought of myself as a storyteller, and I've always been singing too. Been singing since the time I was a little kid. But when I had the opportunity to do storytelling, something had just happened, and this is what had happened: is there was a teacher. I was in private religious schools for the whole time I was growing up, elementary school, high school. And I tell you what, until the time I was 15, I thought everyone was Christian.
Right.
Because because it was we were either at church or
That's the way it is out there. Yeah.
And then there was a story that came out about a teacher from my high school who was arrested for soliciting sex from a 15-year-old boy who turned out to be 3 cops in a trench coat.
Oh, Lord.
And and that story came out, and someone started a Facebook group of alumni from the high school.
Oh my God.
That was like sort of a support group. But what happened is people started telling stories of different situations that had occurred at our high school, dealing with racism, homophobia, misogyny, bullying. Right. Some people even shared stories of an interaction they would have with their teacher. I did not have any interaction with this teacher.
And you didn't seem to be aware of this while you were in high school.
Well, here's the thing. I thought I was the only person that thought the environment was bad.
Right.
And suddenly when this Facebook group started, it's like someone turned on the light and we'd all been standing in this dark room together. And
oh my God, it's how well put is that, right?
Right. And when it's because it's one of those things, when I was in that environment, growing up in the environment, I thought I'm the crazy person.
Well, yeah, you do.
But then when you get here into adulthood and you realize there's a whole bunch of people who stand up and go, this hurt me. There was one lady who told a story. So there was a rule. We wore uniforms in the school.
Right, because it was religious school.
And one of the rules for the girls was that their skirts had to go down past their knee. And a student could be made to kneel to make sure that their skirt touched the ground all the way around, to make sure that it went past their knee. And there was one girl who told a story, one lady who told a story of being in maybe the 10th grade or so. And she was made to kneel in front of the whole class to check the length of her skirt. And she talked about the shame that put on her and the way that she felt guilty about her body and the way that she had to work through that for years.
Right.
When I read that story in the Facebook group, I just started crying because I was sitting in that classroom. I was one of the students in the classroom. I remember that happening. And there was part of me, something I was working through and I'm still working through now is, I sometimes think of that 15-year-old myself as that 15-year-old kid wanting to say, do something, say something. But then to realize that sometimes you have to forgive the kid that you were for not knowing better.
Right.
Absolutely. And you didn't know. You couldn't have put it any better. You were all standing in the dark together. My God. And to
realize that this has hurt so many people and that we have this now allowed for a lot more healing. And a lot more, but that environment, there are so many things that are just wrong with that environment. It's kind of like when I first got there, went 7th grade through 12th grade. And I remember being in the 7th grade and going into a health class. And there was I forget what the topic was, but one of the fellow students raised their hand and cheekily said, "What about the homosexuals?" And the teacher, it's like the weather changed.
Yeah, right.
And the teacher started this tirade about how homosexuality was wrong and how homosexuals are going to a place of eternal punishment, deservedly so, and this sort of thing. And I had never heard the word homosexual before. And
Right.
must have been 11 or 12 years old. And so I went down to the library later and I got into the forbidden section, you know, and
the banned books.
And I got a dictionary and I looked up the word homosexual. And I was thinking of other words that begin with H, you know, herring and such, in case anyone asked what I was doing. And I looked up the word homosexual and I realized, oh, that's me. Oh, well, I better not be that then.
Yeah.
And then there were many years, because really the doctrine of that school when it came to homosexuality was, you are a son or a daughter. You are someone who is kind and compassionate, caring. You're someone who's trying to be better today than you were yesterday. But none of that matters because of how you love. And none of that matter. You're going to a place of eternal punishment, deservedly so.
Right.
And it's really a doctrine of worthlessness. To work through that for so many years and to realize that I do have value. The things that I have to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because really a goal that I have for myself, and I've been saying it more and more in my shows. A lot of people, when I started writing songs and like performing my original songs more and more and more here in the last 7 years, because I started right before I moved to the city and then just have not stopped. And something that I've started, people would often hear my songs and think they were someone else's that had been written and been around for a while. And so I started saying, no, these are mine. But something I'm saying now that people realize that I am a songwriter, I write musicals.
Right, it's what you're recognized as such.
If you know the songs, and please sing along.
Yeah.
And one day, if you're holding your niece or nephew or child and they're trying to go to sleep and my song comes to your head, please sing it to them. Because I would like to write songs like that. You know, Bob Dylan said the other day in an interview, he said, who's writing the standards? And you know what, Bob Dylan? I am. I'm writing the new standards.
He's right here.
Turkey. We are way over time. I will let the editors deal with that.
Oh yeah,
but this was just too good to interrupt and stop.
Such incredible.
But yeah. So firstly, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us here today. And
thank you for everything that you gave us and gave our audience and continue to give by you are a person that has opened up your own portals. God bless you, really.
Yes. And can you tell everybody how to find out more about you?
Absolutely. You can reach out to me on Instagram at Out Late Tonight. Like, don't keep a candle burning. I'll be out late tonight. You can link up with me. Yeah, you can link up with me on Facebook, just at Jackson Sturkey. Sturkey is spelled like turkey if you add an S at the beginning. And if you want to, you can also email me at jacksonsturkey@gmail.com. Come on now.
Okay.
Okay, and folks, don't go away. Okay, we're just ending this part of our show, and then we will continue onward.
So thank you.
Thank you
very much. Okay, now.
Tim, we have so many comments. John,
I know. I wanted to get to the comments. And,
there's so many comments.
I didn't want to interrupt you because that was good stuff.
Now I got to take off my bra, finally.
Okay, relax. Let those girls fly free.
Finally.
So Felipe Rose, he's the Native American from the Village People. He says, hi, kids. Happy soon to be 2023.
Yeah.
And he also says hello from Asbury Park.
Yes.
Ronaldo Nengo Rivera from the Bronx says, good afternoon. Cecily Williams says, and she was one of the singers last night. And she said, hello, you look great. Can't wait for the show today. Okay, there's and she wanted to know, Wendy, did you stay there all night?
She sure did.
Shh, don't tell anyone. And
oh no, she
oh my God, the Star Wars song is absolutely amazing.
Our good friend Ikevelli says Jackson is a genius.
Agreed.
And Jack Falan says, yep, Jackson did a great job last night at Pangea. I got a lot of pics. Okay.
Yep, a lot of pics.
Kobe Cole, yay.
I love
Kobe says, Jackson Sturkey, so brilliantly talented, charming, and unique. XOXO.
You know, people, Quentin Crisp.
Oh, we all, of course, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
You have him on your cover photo.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you love him.
Jesse Luttrell, who also performed last night, said, oh, good morning.
Hey, Jesse.
Oh, my God, that guy.
Well, we have B. Claudia on there. I can't see all the comments, but she tunes in all the way from Germany. I always love seeing her. Happy holidays to your mom and son, B. Claudia, and thank you.
Yes. Joe Preston says Akron, Ohio, LOLOL. Lovely place to leave. That was that's
Yes,
some great knowledge, some
rubber
great
capital of the
knowledge.
world.
And B. Claudia, yeah, she says hello and thank you for the link. And Elizabeth Marcano,
Yeah.
she just says hi, hello.
And then Tim, she also says later he creates Jacksonism. I like that.
Jacksonism. There you go.
Jacksonism.
I'm very quotable. I gotta write it down.
Yes. And Cecily Williams, she says, I just love everything you do, Jackson. Brilliant.
Aww. Thank you.
Icavelli says, pass the Kleenex. Oh, you're talking. Promotion of your.
Wendy can't scroll. Look at me, Jackson. This is what is this?
So if we do,
doesn't.
Yep,
maybe we're the pad. No, it
didn't. Cecily also says, oh my God, that Star Wars song is absolutely amazing.
Okay.
So those are a few of some of the comments. Yeah.
Albert Crocus Pennis said last night, loved it. We were all singing. We were all singing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love it.
Alan videotaped it and he has us all singing.
Well, we gotta see. Did he get the most exciting part of the evening? We sang the guy out of there.
Right, the guy, right. And I saw beautiful, since Jesse's on, beautiful, hunky, talented Jesse Luttrell stepped out of the room, and I'm like, maybe he's just going to take the guy and haul him out the door. I was paid to see that. I never did find out what happened after that. But
what didn't you make it to on these pieces of paper?
Everything. If you look at,
let's go through it really quick.
No, we have the parents, we have the choir, we have we talked about Oliver. We didn't talk about you.
Oh, Oliver. What? No, tell us about Oliver.
You played the role.
Tell us about Oliver.
Yeah.
Well, Oliver was the first show I ever saw. Mm-hmm. It was at I was 5.5 years old, and I saw Oliver with an exclamation point, and I thought, this is it. This is what I want to do. And so I've been living my adult life based off a decision that was made by a 5-year-old. And I wonder about that.
What was your favorite song in the show?
Okay, so it just starts off so strong, with food, glorious food.
Right.
Please,
and then of course we all bawl our eyes out for As Long As He Needs Me.
Oh, I was just gonna say I love that song.
But for me, the opening of Act 2, Who Will Buy?
Yes.
Yeah, that
ensemble piece.
Yes, very strong.
And it starts with one person walking across the stage selling.
And then the way it builds and builds and builds and builds and builds until you're swelling in that feeling. And then it goes right back down just to that one person again.
Right. You love the structure.
I think it is so very well written.
But you went on to, this is like people, when you take your kids out at 5 years old and expose them to shows, fast forward, you end up actually auditioning and getting a role in Oliver.
Oh, I do. It was
right, Tim. That's like full circle.
I ended up playing Mr. Bumble in Oliver. One boy for sale. Although I gotta say though, I always really think about it a lot. I would really love to play Mr. Fagin. I just think that is a juicy role. I think it is so good and fascinating. And I also like the song Reviewing the Situation that he does. I'm
assessing the situation.
Well, and then who's the guy who did it originally? Because he did it his whole life. He was doing the role. Because he did the last revival when he was 76 years old. But he did he toured around the world playing Mr. Fagin for like the rest of his career. And sometimes I think about that. Sometimes you just need one, one of my Broadway star is Carol Channing.
I love
yeah.
That's your person.
And I always think of Hello Dolly.
Well, exactly. Well, did you see she did a special, her and Pearl Bailey did a special together, and Carol Channing turns in a wonderful performance of If I Were a Rich Man.
Oh,
kidding. Oh, I would love
fascinating. Because here's the thing too. She's kind of a grand clown.
Right.
But then the thing is, her doing If I Were a Rich Man, she's just sitting on a stool, going through it, doing it, and it's just a brilliant feat of acting. And it's one of those things that it's like, you know what? She wasn't just funny and like, oh, I'm being funny, wacky. she was a really great actress at the center of it, and that's what gave that like pathos and baseline to the comedy she was
Darling,
doing.
when you don't sing, you really need the acting to fall back on. That's all I can tell you.
Jack just he said Ron Moody.
Ron Moody, the original Mr. Megan. Yep.
Yes.
Ooh, it's in the film, Ron Moody reprised the role for the film, and Oliver, the film, is the only G-rated film to ever win Best Picture at the Oscars.
Yeah, that's a really interesting tidbit. Who knew?
Yeah, it's a great movie too. It's one of those movies that holds up for me. You know what other movie I just watched recently that I love so much? Watch Matilda on Netflix.
Oh,
it is
really
excellent because it's the musical that was running. Tim Minchin did the music and lyrics, and the movie that they just released of it is I think it is just perfect. I think it's an instant classic. I cried no less than 4 times watching it alone on Christmas Day, very high in my apartment.
That wall's still up.
There it was.
A wall.
There it was.
Still had to come down alone.
Cecily says she just watched it this morning.
Oh, it was so good, right?
Oh my God,
Cecily, it is unbelievably good.
I love my friend Cecily home in the morning watching the telly.
I know that little girl in the red beret in it. She eats. She oh my gosh, yeah. You gotta if you get a chance, watch it. Watch out. There's a little girl who wears a red beret. And it's one of those things like rent must have been due. She must have needed to pay for her groceries because she came in here. She said, "I came to work. I came to deliver." She's hitting that choreography.
I love it.
She's singing she's on screen for maybe less than like 4 minutes altogether.
Right.
But whenever she goes up, it's like
it's brilliant.
She came to eat.
Right.
She came to eat.
I think she's on Netflix now.
Netflix.
Okay,
Matilda.
good. I can totally watch it.
Wonderful.
I tuned into Harry and Meghan. Hooked on. Oh God.
You know what though, Wendy? Tell me if it's true, Wendy. You would wear a crown. You would wear a crown.
I have crowns. Not would. I have them. I'm
Wearing
thinking
crowns?
right now I have
Yes.
4. I'm for the Imperial Court of New York. I'm not on the high level. I went from Lady Wendy Darling to Viscountess Wendy Darling. I call myself Discountess Wendy Darling. I'm going to a party Friday night, a gay event where, of course, I'm going to have a crown. I wear crowns all the time.
I tell you what.
I should have had one on last
I tell you
night.
what. If I was a royalty, I would put on a crown and I'd go to my high school reunion.
Yeah.
So how are you doing? I'd point at my tiara and I'd say, "That's how I'm doing."
Hey, you can still do that.
Pumpkin-shaped coach being drawn by 4 white horses out there.
That's
my ride.
That's right. That's mine. And that glass slipper is in 5 foot size. It's a 9.5 double A.
So sorry about it. Sorry about it. Please. Oh, Jackson, it's a good reason. Please. It's your majesty.
Yes, my lady. I don't even get started. But that's why I was watching it, because the thing, and I'm embarrassed to admit it, because I don't watch. I'm so busy, like Tim is. You get home from being in a club or whatever, you're writing something else, you're getting an audition ready or whatever. I just don't have the time. I tuned into all 6 sessions of that. Why did I do that? Megan completely fascinates me, because when I came to New York, there was a whole bunch of girls who modeled and acted like I did. One of them was Marla Maples, and she had her path kind of figured out. And there I am on a go-see one day, and Marla shows up and gets out of a limo. And it's not all that different than what Megan did. I believe she can carry on Instagram. Come on, folks. Talk about what Jackson. There's something to be learned from that.
You know what?
Maybe we shouldn't be tearing down bedroom walls. Maybe we need to go on Instagram and find
That's it. I'm ready for it.
You can change your stage picture really quick. That tiara may be closer than you think.
I'm ready. We got to find out which princes are available and charming. I'm ready for it. But here's the thing, though, with watching that, I was thinking about this with friends.
Did you watch it?
Not yet, but I tell you what, I love trash television.
It is. It was.
I love trash. I had a friend who said to me the other day, they're like, "What are you listening to?" And I said, "I'm listening to His Story." And they said, "What?" And so, have you heard of this? No, there's a composer. She's 19 years old in Texas.
I don't know who this is.
Oh yeah. So she said, Hamilton's really good. What if someone took what Lin-Manuel Miranda did for Alexander Hamilton and did them for Jesus.
Oh, God.
And so now you can listen to the whole
story.
You can listen to the whole his story. It's like a rap musical. And I was listening to it the other day, and my friend said, "Why are you listening to that?" And I said, "I know it's bad, but that's what I like about it." It's like, I don't know if you've ever seen like Love Is Blind, F-Boy Island, Paris Hilton's best friend.
You love that.
I love it because I'm like watching. Let's take Love Is Blind for example. If you haven't seen it, this is the premise. You're essentially speed dating, but you cannot see the person you are speed dating.
Are you blindfolded?
Okay. There's a wall between you.
Oh, okay.
Pour it down.
There's a wall between you. Now, the only time that you can meet the person that you are speed dating is if you agree to get engaged to them.
Oh my God.
That's the setup premise of the show. If you get a chance, it is the first season.
But
the first season is so good. It's great. It's highly, but it's one of those things that it's so bad. It's that thing. It's like chips or ice cream or pie. It's like, I know it's bad for me. But that's what I like about it.
Right.
That's
right.
what I like.
It's
I'm not,
right.
I'm
it's
not
sad,
eating
but
this
it's
to
so
make my
good.
mind better.
Right.
I'm watching this so I can enjoy myself. I love that. I really have terrible taste.
You do.
I do.
And you have to watch Harry and Meghan.
I'm probably gonna get into it.
You'll love it.
You know what other show is so bizarre? The Curse of Oak Island.
I haven't watched it.
I've seen a little of that, yeah.
Have you watched it, Tim?
Here's the issue.
Well, I'm familiar with Oak Island, yeah. And they're digging for the treasure. And
the issue with the show is nothing happens.
Exactly. Nothing
happens. Ever. And the show just keeps going, and nothing ever happens. It's just it's two brothers kind of hanging out on like a camping trip that a network is paying for. They're going for this treasure on Oak Island.
This makes me so crazy. This kind of thing, right? And nothing happens.
And so that's what
I'm. And it's what is it, like third season now or something?
Nothing happening.
They're on their fifth season.
Oh my God!
The show has been running ever since they started airing it. The show has been running all this time.
Unbelievable. Yeah,
unbelievable.
So there's no highs, no lows. It just is.
It just is. Well, and then the thing is, they'll try to like sting something before a commercial break, and then they'll come back. And nothing is happening. It's just
but case in point, Jackson, you're here to tell us about it because you're watching it.
I am.
You and millions of other people, and Tim has actually heard of it too. I'm out of the loop.
Well, I like Ancient Aliens on the History Channel. Love that show.
That could be.
And they always advertise for the Curse of Oak Island, and they've talked about Oak Island and explained what Oak Island is.
Nothing happens where every day is like the next.
Yeah, lots of conspiracy theories around it, because it's supposed to be a buried treasure, and it's called the money. It's the money,
but they never get the treasure. Right, it's to keep you chomping at the bit for them to get to the treasure, but
they're trying all sorts of different things. But there just probably is no treasure, is what I came to after sinking hours and hours and hours of my life into watching this show. I realized, oh my God, there is no treasure. Maybe the treasure.
You're silly.
Maybe the treasure is the friends we made along the way.
Oh my God!
And the hours spent with these brothers. Maybe that's the treasure.
Are the brothers really good?
No,
and they're not. Oh, okay.
They're two old retired guys who are using the money that they've saved up over the years
to go find buried treasure.
Because they heard about Oak Island when they were both like 8 years old, like when they were little kids.
But they parlay. Okay, I'm sorry. Now the bitterness comes out. They have managed to parlay this into a television show.
They sure have.
Why do I bother getting out of bed?
Well, they bought the island, didn't they? They bought the island, didn't they?
I probably
with their
they bought the island, and
I love this comment. Yeah. Their treasure is you watching.
That's a treasure. Whoever the Jack 3 is, that is brilliant.
That's Jack Fulan.
I said.
Oh my God, that's great.
Okay.
But we were talking about this a little bit earlier, though, too. I had brought up Beverly Hills Chihuahua.
Right. I have a Chihuahua. So does Suze.
Well, then I have a question for both of you.
Yes.
What is the worst movie you ever paid money to see?
The worst movie I ever paid money to see. I probably have blocked it from my mind. That's a bad question. I would fail on the trivia with that. It's okay. I can't remember.
Well, we're going to ask Tim, and then I got a different question for you. Okay.
I have a different.
I would probably have to say Rabbit Test with Billy Crystal back in the 70s because I was bored to death watching this movie, and it was in one of those little cinemas, and the cinema next door was showing Halloween. And people were
Halloween is
screaming.
great.
They were screaming. Right. I was like, what the hell? And I'm watching this stupid-ass movie. I'm like, why am I here and not over there?
little FOMO happening there. Oh, man. Okay. So Wendy, then for you. So what are 3 movies that I would have to watch to better understand you?
Oh.
And ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back with I'm telling you, I'm really poor at this.
It's okay, because it's like, so what's a movie like? Are you from New York originally?
I am, but when people like ask me, because I haven't had time to process, because I did a lot of poppers in the 80s and I don't have a lot of brain cells left. So I have to do investigation when someone asks me a question like that. And then I'll come back with something brilliant. No, I just made that whole thing up. But 3
poppers are real.
Okay, 3 movies. I loved the original 101 Dalmatians.
Yeah.
Because I'm an animal lover. I loved what are some of the other oh God.
Well, part of it too is
throw some movie titles.
So like a movie that's really important to me is I watched Gone with the Wind.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah, from the time I was 7 to the time I was 14, I watched that movie like once every year. I would go to the library, pick up the 2 VHSs. I'd go home, pop them in, and I would watch Gone with the Wind. And it was before I really knew anything about anything. But I always remember in the burning of Atlantis scene. So she's just had the baby, and they go to carry her down the stairs, and the whole city is burning and everything. And they hit the top of the stairs, and a spotlight goes and hits them and follows them down the stairs as they go. And it's one of those things that is just that glamour of Hollywood is something I'm very much in love with. And it's one of those things that, like, you know, when I'm thinking of what I'm doing and how I want to do it, that sort of glamour is in my mind always, where it's like, it's more than real.
Right.
And it's when you hear stories that are like that, because that year there were 3 films that came out all the same year. And it was Gone with the Wind, The Wizard of Oz, and
oh my God, that's certainly, see, now that he's working with me,
those are impactful.
Thank you, Tim.
Well, then also Ninochka came out the same year, and these all deal with glamour very differently. I didn't like
Ninochka. I had to watch it in college for a course.
Well, the thing is, I love the closing scene, because what it is this Russian dignitary. And you know, Russia's going down the tubes, and she's escaped because otherwise they're gonna
run.
And so at the end, she's with this guy who's basically a gold digger at the end, and she is wearing all of her jewels, and she's like, can't. And so it's just her with this guy who doesn't really love her, is with her for the money. And she's like, can't we all just go on like this forever? I'll just be here in our joy. And the thing is, when I think of these 3 movies, they're together in my mind. Now, these aren't my 3 movies that would answer the question, but I think of these 3 movies together because The Wizard of Oz is saying, you know, you go to this glamorous place of Oz, but at the end, there's no place like home.
Right.
So you can go and have that glamour.
I was watching that the other day, and she goes back to Auntie M and the black and white. That woman was a bitch.
Yeah,
Auntie M was harsh. I mean, she's a cold fish, Auntie M.
She should have stayed in Oz. You know, with
the exactly. Stay with everybody. That's fun.
And so,
oh my God, I just thought of another musical for you.
Which one?
What if they stayed in Oz? That's what the musical would be. What you totally change it.
You know what? The thing is too. John Waters has a great pitch for like a version of The Wizard of Oz where Dorothy stays. You have to.
Oh, I love John Waters. Is so brilliant. Yes.
One thing I loved from Mad TV was a sketch that they did when at the very end, and she says, you know, oh no, I'll never get home. And the fairy godmother, or Glinda the Good Witch, comes down, and she goes, oh, she says, or Dorothy says something like, you know, oh my God, now I'm stuck here. I'm never going to get her out. And she goes, oh, you could have left at any time. She goes, say what?
Can we talk about this? Can we talk about this?
And she ends up beating the shit out of Glinda. She's like, what the hell? You had me go. I killed a witch. I did. Bam!
That is a brilliant sketch, Tim. Brilliant.
Have you ever noticed? I think Glinda the Good Witch is the best movie villain ever invented.
Yeah.
What is it about her?
Let's get into
both of her enemies wiped out.
Exactly. So Glinda the Good Witch gets a child to remove any other magical or political powers in Oz.
Yes.
How right? How
And
right?
The only time she interferes is when it looks like that mission might be subverted. When Dorothy falls asleep in the field.
Yes, right.
She appears and is like, nope, keep going, keep going. And the thing is, she sends a child out of the only place in Oz where she was safe. You have no power here.
Yes, right.
So she sends the kid. So she sent, and she's also the one who suggests that she puts on the shoes. Now I'm going to say, if I was the Wicked Witch of the West, and I show up to the crime scene where my sister has died, and someone's doing a little dance in my sister's shoes, I'm gonna get all. I'll get you my pretty little doll too.
She has every right to feel that.
And then Glinda goes, "You have no power here," and then sends Dorothy out of the only place where she's safe without telling her she could have gone home from the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
She literally manipulates a child to remove the other political and magical powers that are in Oz.
Yes.
If you watch Wicked with this in mind, Wicked just looks like Glinda the Good's slow descent into madness.
I love your analysis of this. And see, this all started with him asking me 3 questions. There you go. You never know where it's going to lead. Jackson, you are amazing. We had such a blast with you today.
Great.
Absolutely. Oh my God. And I have a
chocolate bar.
Finally, I'm taking the whole table.
We're going to be doing a lot of things together. I guarantee.
Absolutely.
I feel that. Most definitely.
You know what? I'd love to come back and do this again before April.
Absolutely.
I'm doing a show up at the Triad on April 20th.
Okay. That's right. 420.
It's my first 420 show. So let's go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be doing an hour of my original music. I'm going up there with my band, The Big Turn On. 420.
Let's talk about it then.
Let's talk about it then.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you, Jackson.
So much, Jackson Sturkey.
Thank you. Big love.
Thank you, everybody. You're a great audience. Bye-bye. Happy New Year. Oh, my gosh. 2023. Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
We're